Get your hiking boots ready, y'all, because we are going to the mountains. So as you can see from the title of this book, or the thumbnail of this video, and through the thumbnail, you will see that I'm about to start reading Credence by Penelope Douglas. What can I say, Penelope? This is my first Penelope Douglas book, so I am very excited. However, this book, I have seen like good things about it and bad things about it. And obviously we're all entitled to our own opinion, myself included. Obviously, by the end of this video, we'll both find out if I ended up really liking the book or not really liking it. But I have honestly enjoyed watching the vlogs that other YouTube creators have made about this book, because I just find it so interesting. People's reactions are very, very different, very mixed, and I've enjoyed watching them without actually having read the book. And honestly, I've been a little bit scared too, because I'm like, I don't even know, like, what am I gonna think? Like, there's so many mixed opinions about this book that I really have no idea where I'm gonna end up, but I'm excited to jump in. So I have it right here, locked and loaded on the Kindle app on my iPad. I'm gonna go ahead and just jump in, check it out, and then see where we go from there. Okay, so far I've gathered that her parents are jerks. They're selfish jerks, to be specific. And so far we've learned the age difference of the first love interest, and he is, she says, late 30s, maybe early 40s, but she's 17. She's gonna be 18 in a few months, but late 30s, maybe early 40s, and she's 17. Don't know how I feel about that. It is a new day today, and I have kept reading Credence so far. Now, right now, she's only met one of the sons, and obviously like the uncle. Again, they're not blood related, which is something that I had to remind myself, because she did call him uncle, and I was like, if this is how the book is gonna go, like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this. But he actually told her not to call him uncle, because he literally was like, I pretty much am not your uncle. Like, they literally have never met or anything like that. So he's like, don't call me uncle, I'm not really your uncle. I could tell though that she's already attracted to Noah, which is one of the sons. So it's Jake, which is the uncle, and then Noah is the youngest son. We haven't met Caleb, but we do know that there's something about Caleb, because someone in like the small town mentioned about that son and the fact that they're going to be stuck with him in winter, and he looked a little concerned, especially knowing that the niece was going to be there. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see what the Caleb son has that's like different than, you know, them. He did mention to her that he likes space, so he told her not to be offended when she does meet Caleb. We have yet to find out. Also, one thing that I didn't know, I knew that this was like a cabin up in a mountain and it was gonna be hard to get to and stuff. I thought it was gonna be like a small little cabin, like just like a small cabin, like one level. I don't know, that's what I pictured. It's like a 3-story cabin. The whole bottom, like she's describing it, it's pretty much all glass. Like, I started picturing more like the Twilight house, you know, like the Edward Cullen house. That's kind of what I pictured, because it's like 3 floors. She said it's mainly glass, high ceilings. She has a fireplace in her room. So this was definitely not the cabin that I had in my mind when I pictured them up in the woods. So I'm gonna keep reading. I'll keep you guys updated. But so far, that was a very interesting development, because that is not what I pictured at all. Okay, so another day again. I did continue reading, and so far from what I've gathered is Jake, aka the dad, and the uncle, although that is so weird. I hate it. I do not like that. He has some control issues. There is a little bit of mystery there, because apparently the son, I want to say his name's Noah, right? Yeah. The young son, it seems like he wants to leave. And based on his conversations with Tiernan, the girl, he kind of hints at like, why are you here? Like, I would want to leave if I could. But she's kind of like, you're 20, you're technically an adult, so why are you here? So there is like some mystery there, and still she had not met Caleb yet, and that's pretty much where I stayed yesterday. I started reading it again right now, and again, there seems to be some sort of control issues there. And then Tiernan, she used to have night terrors. She's starting to have them again. And there's just like a lot of mystery because there's like things kind of happening with the town. I don't know. She's kind of seeing that there's a lot between the youngest son and the dad. So like Noah and Jake, they don't really get along, but obviously they're father and son, but she's still trying to figure out that dynamic. And she hadn't met Caleb yet. So far in the book, there hasn't been, nothing sexual has happened, right? But the uncle has kind of stopped himself from having certain thoughts about Tiernan. And like Tiernan doesn't, like, she's pointed out that he's always shirtless. Jake is always shirtless, and so is Noah. And so she's kind of like, do they ever wear shirts? Do they this? It just seems like a very awkward thing to notice. The uncle does seem a little bit more pushy. Pushy in the sense of like trying to be close to her, and there was like a horse riding scene that was little. And he really hated Tiernan's dad. So I feel like take care of her, but like it seems like he's trying to get payback through her. I don't know if that makes sense. So right now I'm reading the part where she's kind of deciding, you know what, maybe I should go home, and she ends up running into Caleb. Tiernan already is very quiet, and I think Caleb is even more quiet. I'm not really sure what the whole Caleb situation is yet, but so far he's been like sniffing her. And right now I'm literally reading a part where it's like he's opening his belt and undoing his jeans. So I don't know where this is going, but I figured it would be a good place to kind of see my reaction. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read this and kind of see what happens. Okay, so obviously this is going where you think it's going, and she is repeatedly telling him to stop, which already I was like, what the hell? He does stop. She like slaps him. He stops before anything really escalates. But Noah, aka the younger brother, obviously hears something, and he tells him like, hey, wait, stop. Like, she's not a townie. She's actually what does she say? It's dad's brother's daughter. Okay, so basically he was going to just sleep with the first girl that he saw. And Noah turns around and tells her, just cut him some slack. He's always starving when he comes back from being in the woods this long. Because apparently Caleb goes to the woods like for a while, and then he... Oh, and I guess he doesn't talk. He hasn't spoken since he was 4 years old. Okay, so I'm gonna keep reading this, but yeah, this was like a very okay, so apparently in this small town, they all know that like these guys, Jake, Noah, and Caleb, always get the prettiest of women, blah blah blah. And there's this guy that is part of like motocross, or like an upcoming motocross star, whatever, and he's really interested in her. But all three of them, Jake, Noah, and Caleb, have warned her about staying away from the other guys. But this guy finds like a way to like get her alone, and she's kind of like, maybe I should have fun too, because she's obviously seeing that like Jake and Noah, for example, have girls from the town that like come sleep over, and like she sees them leave in the morning, so she's like, I should have some fun too. But right now, the cousins, well, Noah and Caleb, are pulling up to this pond that she's swimming at, where this guy came to like try to like get at her or whatever. And they're super pissed because he told her like, oh, these guys are not the type of guys to let people into their property. And she's like, I'm not their property. And he's like, no, you live with them. They live by different rules up here. You're their property. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about this book, but I need to go take care of some things. Okay, so I am back home into some comfy clothes. It is freaking hot, so Don't mind me while I just throw my hair up. So far, okay. They're all attracted to her. I mean, it's pretty clear that they're all attracted to her, but no one has fully crossed the boundary. And you do actually get, it's not necessarily dual POV, but you have been able to see some of the POVs from Noah and Jake so far. We still don't know why Caleb doesn't talk. So obviously something happened there. He stopped talking when he was 4 years old. We still don't know why. But with her, I can tell you, her parents were garbage. Like, her parents are the definition of people that should not have kids. She actually has like a flashback to when she was with her parents, and her mom was like this actress. She was Oscar nominated. She walks into the room and she's like, "Congratulations, Mom." And her parents just keep talking like if she didn't say anything. And I'm just reading that and I'm like, that is so messed up. And the only reason why she thought about that and like why that memory came back is because his dad's stepbrother, so Jake, the oldest man here, we're just gonna call him that, he basically confronts her and tells her that she's spoiled, because that she's like a brat because she hasn't even tried to get to know them. She doesn't ask any questions. And it's pretty clear, like, for the reader, that she's a little bit socially awkward. Like, there's obviously stuff there that happened and it relates a lot to her parents. And you still don't really know that much about her. But based on what you've seen, it's like, yeah, she kind of has some issues that she has to process and deal with. But when he confronts her, she basically says that she's not used to people talking to her because she's so used to being at home and basically being ignored or being by herself. Her parents were obsessed with each other and the idea of having kids sounded good, but once they had the kid, they were like, not really what we wanted, but like, we have a kid, whatever. And then, yeah, they had nannies and they had all this stuff, but they neglected her and just completely ignored her. And that is so, so sad. As a reader, it makes me think, okay, obviously she has all these things, and now that she's getting all these attention, because it's pretty clear that all three men are attracted to her. They still haven't full on said it, although there's like hints and it's like underlying there that they're attracted to her. But I'm like, clearly for someone that didn't get any attention to all of a sudden be getting all of this attention, a little bit of an issue, because like, does she really want to participate in these activities, which is what's gonna happen, obviously, I'm thinking. But it's like, is that really because she wants to, or is it because she's just so grateful that she's getting all of this attention? So that's kind of where like it makes things a little bit weird for me, you know, because it's different. Like, yes, I get like it is taboo. It's still the step uncle, even though she had never met him, and the step cousins, even though she had never met them either. But because they're not blood related, like, if you kind of separate yourself enough, like, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. The problem though is with her past trauma. And when you start thinking of like, she's not used to getting attention, now she's getting attention, is this really the healthiest thing for her to do? You know? Update time. Okay, so something happened now between Jake and Tiernan. He actually ended up stopping things before they got far enough. But he basically pointed out to her, like, listen, right now you're like in this vulnerable state, like you're just going along with it because someone's giving you attention, and like, you know, this isn't right, blah blah blah. He does mention like, you know, I'm your uncle, and she's like, no you're not, I literally had never met you. Which, I mean, pretty late for that, buddy. Like, you're thinking now that you're the uncle, like all of a sudden you're remembering. But anyway, he does like help her, and at least he's the adult in that he stops it. But you have to remember, she's still 17, she's not even 18 yet, and he is, they haven't said his age, but I mean, he has a 20-year-old and a 20-something-year-old, so he's probably at least 40. She's definitely attracted to them. She's attracted to all three of them. So it's definitely not one-sided. Like, she is attracted to all three men for different reasons. So since I last saw you guys, things went down. Yeah, things went down. They definitely crossed the those boundaries, if you get what I'm saying. And I am specifically talking about, well, actually, she kind of crossed boundaries with all of them. But here's, okay. So with the brothers, there was like this whole scene of them all watching something on TV together. But before things could like advance, Jake, the dad of the two sons, like stopped everything. But then Jake and her went all the way, if you're catching my drift. Now, she is 18 now, technically. She's only been 18 for a little bit, but I just feel weirder with her and Jake than her and the two sons, because I mean, she's 18, Noah's 20, so she's 18, Noah's 20, and Caleb is probably 21, maybe 22. So it kind of makes more sense with them. Like, yes, I know it's still a little taboo because they're step cousins, but again, they had never met each other ever. So I can look past that as long as they're not like being weird. But he's 40 and she's 18. I don't know. That's really like my biggest thing. And then at one point she did call him uncle. And I was like, don't do that. I can't. I just, no. So anyway, so the sons end up figuring out very quickly that happened. And they're pretty upset with their dad. And actually Noah basically tells Jake, like, what if I want her too? Like, I like being with her, whatever. And he's like, well, then she should get to choose. Like, she should be able to be with whoever she wants. Like, she can choose who she wants to be with. Like, you know, if she wants to have fun with me and have fun with you, like, then that's, you know, that's on her. Which I'm like, how is a father having these conversations with his sons? Like, that's a whole other issue there, you know? So I don't know. But Jake is definitely like hogging her right now, you know? He like kind of wants her all to himself right now. To be honest, if you remove all that, just the spice itself is actually really, really good. So I do think that Penelope Douglas does a really great job with the spice, because the spice is good as long as you don't think about who it is. Does that sound bad? Okay, so it's not funny in that sense, but I'm just like, what am I reading? So Jake, the dad, has to go to this other cabin that they have, so he's gonna be gone for a few days. So now it's basically just gonna be Tiernan, Noah, and Caleb. But there's like a fire that starts in the barn in the middle of the night. They all go in there and they have animals, so they have to get them out, whatever. And she ends up getting this like really nasty cut on her arm that now needs stitches. So Caleb, the one who does not talk, he's like stitching her up, and she's like, stop. She's trying to get him off her because it hurts, but obviously he has to. And he hurt, right? And she's like, what the, you know, whatever. So she's over here attacking him, and Caleb doesn't talk. So Noah, his brother, is like, but does it, your arm still hurt? And so she realizes like, oh no, like it doesn't hurt anymore. And so now like the brother kind of like Caleb signals at like Noah to kind of keep her like distracted. So Noah's over here like pulling her hair and like basically giving her pain in other areas so that she doesn't think about the pain in her arm. And I mean, I guess, but I don't know, that seems kind of extreme for like to not feel pain. I don't know. And then also, obviously now that Jake is away, the son is trying to play, you know what I mean? Noah specifically is like really trying to play with Tiernan, but she's like, no. She has like this loyalty with Jake that like Noah is kind of resenting her for. So I'm really curious to know like who she picks at the end, because I have seen there's people that are not happy with who she picks. And right now already, if she were to pick Jake, I wouldn't be happy. Okay, so they definitely played Tiernan, Caleb, and Noah. Again, see, it's, again, the spice is good. The problem is, in this case, Noah and Caleb are brothers. So it just, you know, just, that's the only thing. I mean, obviously nothing happens between them, but them two being with Tiernan at the same time. Yeah. And then Jake returns. She tells him, hey, you know, your sons and I had some fun while you were away. And obviously he's like mad, but not mad. Like he doesn't react, I guess, in the way that she thought. So I'm back. So I've been doing some reading, and okay. So now she feels more of a connection with Caleb. And again, Caleb is the only one that doesn't talk. He hasn't talked since he was, I think, 3 or 4 years old. Even though she knows that out of the 3 of them, she should choose Noah, because Noah wants to get out of there. Noah, she can see herself growing with. He's kind. Caleb is pretty unstable. And then with Jake, obviously, I mean, he's 40, he's older. It just doesn't really make sense. Now, so far in the book now, ever since like she was with the brothers, she has not gone back to being with Jake. And right now, she pretty much is realizing, because now she's been with Caleb by himself, and she realizes that she feels like a different connection with him, if that makes sense. But she knows that she shouldn't, that she's being dumb. But even right now, like in the part that I read, it says some lessons can only be learned the hard way. Because Noah wants to be with her, and Caleb like comes and basically grabs her hand, kind of like trying to tell her like, come with me, like let's go. And she goes with him because he's the one that she like wants to be with right now. Is he gonna be the one that she chooses? I don't know. What the hell? Okay, so I'm reading, this is the first chapter that we get from like Caleb's POV, and the way that he's describing her is so mean. Because he's basically saying like that he's sick of seeing her smile when she works on her dumb stuff in the shop, sick of her being excited by the snow, sick of her like basically being happy. And she has night terrors, and he's like, I'm sick of her cries at night and how pathetic she sounds during her nightmares. But, and he's saying that she's mean because he clearly like he's being bothered by the fact that she's been with his dad and his brother. And so okay, because he literally says she won't stop him, because as long as someone is her, she doesn't have to remember all the nothing she is. Thank God. Anyway, again, Caleb is what, I don't know, maybe I don't want her with Caleb either, because he sounds like an asshole. And again, he's not stable. We don't know what happened to him yet. I hope that that is explained. But I'm just like, now I'm even more confused, because he's literally like, he loves watching her excited by the snow and happy feeding the horses, and how loving she is with the animals, and how good her arms felt when he hugged him to her in the car today in the barn. She's so beautiful and he loves seeing her smile. What the heck, Caleb? I don't know what's going on, but I think he's like basically, I don't know, right now with what's happening, with what he's, you know, doing while he's having this inner monologue, he's like trying to punish her, I think, because he pretty much wants her all to himself. That's my guess. Okay, let me keep reading. Yeah, so he definitely wants her like for himself, but yeah, because he says women he loves forget him. So he definitely has his issues. I think it might come from like his mom, because she is in prison. Their mom is in prison. We don't know why. Yep, that's what it is. And also now they've all kind of started, well, Caleb said it in his head, but Noah told her like, what happens if like you get pregnant and now you have to like stay with me. So now I'm like, are they gonna try to get her pregnant to like try to get her to stay there? That's like a whole other issue. She is on birth control, but I don't know. Okay, so more developments. I had to change my shirt, so don't mind the shirt. But anyway, so basically at this point, Caleb really wants Tiernan, and it looks like she really wants him. But he had like this whole, I don't want to say episode, but he like lost his shit basically, and he got really upset with her, just imagining her with like his dad and his brother. And so he ended up destroying something that she had been working on, and she kind of like loses her shit too. And right before he leaves, he like taps his chest twice and he disappears into the forest, which is something that he usually does. But at this point now, he's been gone for like 2 months, and she is like barely talking. She's not participating in any activities with the brother or the dad. And she also has like, she reacts really extreme, and so does he. So it's a little bit concerning because they both definitely have a lot of things that they need to work through. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep reading. Let me see how far I am. Actually 80% in. Wow, okay. So I'm actually a lot further than I thought. So I'm 80% in. We're gonna get to like the conclusion of this. But so far she misses him. She's been like trying to like sleep in his bed, and he has like a lot of books, so she sees that he's like a reader. But she actually ends up seeing that what he does in the books is that he writes notes, and none of it is dated. It's just different things. But she's like fascinated because he doesn't communicate with them at all. Like no, you know, not writing it down, not talking, not nothing. So she, like her seeing him writing, it's like his thoughts, like his expressions. So she's starting to see this whole other, like not other side of him, but she's starting to kind of get a look into his mind. And again, he hasn't been back. So it's been like 2 months that none of them have seen him. But even Jake recognizes that like Caleb is in love with her, and he told her like, my son loves you. Like this sign that he did means mine. So he loves you. But we found out like what the trauma was with his mom and why Caleb stopped talking, which is honestly so heartbreaking. Like it's so sad, which I'm just gonna mention it because honestly pretty much this whole video has been like a spoiler because I've been talking about the book. But basically Caleb's mom, well, Caleb and Noah's mom took Caleb with her into town supposedly, but she really was like seeing someone else on the side. And she ended up leaving him in the car and said, hey, I'll be right back. I'm gonna run in really quick. She went in. It ended up being a party. She got high. She forgot about him. And he was locked in this car for 4 days. So obviously if he cried, if he screamed, like no one heard him because where the car was, it was really secluded. And they didn't find him until 4 days after. So after, like, that's when he stopped talking. And that's when he stopped communicating, because basically the only thing that he can control was whether or not he talked to people. And talking to people was kind of letting them in. And after he pretty much was betrayed because no one really came to him on time, Noah kind of describes it to Tiernan as like part of Caleb's brain like separating, you know? It's just really sad, obviously, what happened to him. But again, there's like a lot of things that they need to work on. They have issues just with the 3 of them. So yeah, I don't know where the story's gonna go, but I'm 80% in. So it's obviously almost over. We shall see. You guys, I did it. I finally finished it. I can already feel my energy going back up. Okay, anyway, with that said, I finished Credence last night. Before I give you guys my thoughts, my rating, whatever, I have this habit of, if it's a book that either really made me think, whether in a good way, a bad way, it just had some sort of impact on me, I love looking at the reviews on Goodreads. After I finish the book, after I have my own opinion, my own rating, I like looking at the ratings just out of curiosity, honestly, like just to be nosy to see what other people rated it. I was like, let me check out Goodreads, let me see how it is. The low ratings didn't surprise me because totally valid. I get where they were coming from. A lot of DNFs for this book. Again, I understand. But then I was looking at the people that had rated it like 5 stars, that were like raving about it. And one thing that I noticed is I saw one review in particular where this person also acknowledges like the problematic things in this book. And it's not that the author is problematic, but obviously like just things that in the book that you're kind of like, no, like that's not okay. And again, I understood, but she did mention like her points and like what it is that she liked about the book. But the thing that actually that I saw and that really bothered me is that people were commenting on her review and they were being mean to her. Like they were telling her like, you're weird, you need help, are you okay, weirdo, like just different things on there. And I'm like, how much free time do you have that you have to go comment on someone's comment talking about a book just to tell them that they're weird and they need help? Read a book that I really enjoyed, and then my friend tells me, oh, I didn't really like that book. They didn't really like that book. Like, it affects my life in no way whatsoever. The same thing in reverse. If my friend were to say, oh my God, I read this book and I loved it, and it's a book that I read that I didn't like, I'd be like, oh, cool, that's great. If they were to ask me, oh, did you read it? What did you think? I would simply tell them, you know, I did read it, it just really wasn't for me. If they asked me why not, whatever, I would elaborate respectfully. But again, them liking a book that I didn't like makes no difference in my life whatsoever. I just wanted to throw that out there because honestly, I feel like that's one side of the internet that I really do not like. It's just the fact that people feel like it's okay to go and say things like you're weird or, you know, you need help or whatever. And it's like, who are you to tell other people? Like, I need to calm down. With that said, I feel very comfortable giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 for my rating. And here's why. With the things that I did like about the book, I really like how Penelope Douglas explored the psyche of all the characters, because these are all characters that all have different levels and types of traumas. You have Jake, right? Jake being the oldest, he's 40 years old. They don't really confirm his age actually. He's like 40 or so. He lost the love of his life in a very tragic way through a very messed up misunderstanding. And that made him basically seclude himself. And yeah, he ended up meeting this woman and they're living up in the mountains. They ended up having, you know, his 2 sons. And he's basically been there ever since. Like, yeah, he interacts with the people in town and stuff, but he's very much like, this is my space, this is where I'm happy. And like, he doesn't really trust people. In that sense though, because he doesn't trust other people, he's become really overprotective of his 2 sons. And specifically, you start to see it in the book where Noah very clearly wants to like explore and see what's out there. And it's like an ongoing argument between Jake and Noah, because Jake is like, no, you're gonna stay here, stop talking about leaving, you're not gonna leave. And I mean, Noah's 20, so he very much can leave. But I think part of Noah too is like his guilt of like them leaving his dad and his brother. So that's Jake. And then you have Caleb, who is the second oldest. Caleb is the one that I saw in some reviews too. Like, a lot of people had issues with him, understandably so. He was left in his car by his mom for 4 days. And basically Noah explains to Tiernan, the heroine of the book, the doctors checked him out and stuff, like his vocal cords, like he had like tried them out because he was still able to talk. He's choosing not to talk, right? And he's an adult now, he's 22 years old. But basically, like, he had been screaming and crying for help. And for 4 days, you have this 4-year-old boy trapped in this car. So obviously, like, you know, he's dirty, did his business on himself. Like, you know, and he basically says that after that, he just wasn't himself. Jake actually did get therapy for Caleb, but they tried doing, you know, sign language and stuff like that. But he just chooses not to talk. And it kind of winds down to like a sense of control, where he feels like he can control whether or not he talks to people. And so he chooses not to talk to people. And then of course, he has issues with women because the one that did that to him was his mom. His mom literally left him in the car, said, I'll be right back. Went, did some drugs. She got high, forgot all about her son. So now he has like extreme mommy issues, abandonment issues. He can't ride in a car without the windows being down. I mean, yeah. And because of that too, he also secludes himself a lot. So he spends a lot of time in the woods by himself with zero human interaction. So again, he has his issues there. And then you have Noah, some people I guess saw him as like the healthiest one out of all of them, but he too has his issues because of his mom got thrown into prison. He hasn't been around his mom since he was like 3 years old. On top of that, you have a dad that is like controlling and overprotective and basically isn't really letting you expand your wings and like follow things that you want. And then also you have your brother who is like unstable. So he's kind of like trapped. And not only that, but he also like connects with Tiernan because his brother doesn't talk. And then his dad, he literally says that sometimes like his dad would talk to him like 3 words a day and that was it. Or like 3 times a day and that was it. And especially in those winter months where they're trapped for like, 4 or 5 months up in the woods. And it's like you're trapped with someone that doesn't talk and is gone for periods of time. And with a dad who talks to you a handful of times and that's it. Like, it's a form of like neglect too. Like, I don't know. So again, him. And then you have Tiernan, who you find out very quickly definitely had a lot of issues with her parents. Her parents basically, like, it was like she was a ghost at her house. She would come and talk to her parents and no one would acknowledge that she was even in the room. How messed up and twisted is that? She went through 17 years of her life with that. And yes, her parents were rich and famous and they gave her, she had all the money and the nannies and the this and the that, but it's like they were sending her to boarding schools, to camps. They basically were trying to get her out and away from their sight like if she didn't exist so much. So you can only imagine the issues that she has too, because she's neglected by her parents. Maybe not in like, a physical sense, or well, it is physical because they're not even talking to her, acknowledging her, but they're neglecting her in like the sense that they provide, but they want nothing to do with her. And she's an only child. Like, it's not like she has anyone else to talk to. She really only has her mother's assistant who has been kind of a maternal figure for her. But it's like this whole time she's seeing how loving and affectionate her parents are to each other, just not to her. They could care less about her. So again, I really enjoyed that part of the book, like really getting to see like different like levels of trauma and like the psyche and all that stuff. Not that I enjoyed that happened to them, but as a reader it was like, dang, like, you don't justify their actions, but you kind of start to see why certain things can be related and like kind of have like, a domino effect in affecting other areas in their life, if that makes sense. What I didn't like about the book, besides, of course, there's DubCon in this book. There's, the whole Jake thing and Tiernan thing is something that just really bothers me. The age gap is just too big. He's 40, let's say 40, because they never really confirmed, but he's 40, she's 18. That is too big of an age gap, because I think of myself when I was 18 and I'm like, dude, when I was 18, even dating guys that were my age, right? Like, my mindset at that age versus now is so different that you can only imagine the mindset of a 40-year-old man and an 18-year-old girl. Like, to me, it's just too much of an age difference. And also just, I know that there's some people that they don't mind the big age difference, but I think one, it was that, and then also the fact that like the way that he's kind of described a little bit is predatory. And that was like an even bigger issue, I think, for me, that he kind of just comes off as creepy. And so I was like, because honestly, the whole taboo part, I understand why it's taboo, because it's, step uncle, step cousins, but she had never met them ever. So I could very quickly kind of disassociate that part. But the age gap was something that I just didn't really like. With that said, another aspect, like besides those things, what I didn't like too is like I did feel like at the end it kind of wrapped up a little bit too quickly. I would have liked to see them all getting some help, you know, especially Tiernan, like getting some professional help and really taking the time to get to know herself. She does process a lot of things throughout the book, I guess, but I would have loved to see that. Because at the end of the book, she does end up with someone, and I'm gonna go ahead and say whom. So if you want to skip, just skip a few seconds, but she ends up with Caleb. And a lot of people are not happy about that. They kind of wanted her to end up with one of the other two, and I don't understand why. But the book kind of ends there, and then the epilogue is 5 years in the future. And now in this future, they're like at a lake, they're all camping and everything. And I just kind of thought it was funny because I'm like, you know, she's been with all three of these guys. Like, then now you guys are just all kind of camping. So like, I find that kind of funny. Like, not in a ha 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 type of way, but just like, okay, wouldn't that be awkward? I don't know. And then she does at this point, like she did go off to college. She did get a degree. Now she's building a home with the person that she's with, and they have now had a child together. They have like an 18-month-old together. They've all kind of evolved. Like Noah has become like, you know, into motocross, and he's traveled. You have Jake, who is like now with someone like more his age, and he's kind of, you know, moved from just being stuck there to actually like now he's like running things in California for like their motocross company and stuff. And then you have Caleb, who talks and he expresses himself and stuff. But I would have loved to see them all kind of, or like at least that kind of explained the fact that they did actually all get help and like therapy and, you know, just stuff like that. Because I did think that it just wrapped up a little bit too quickly. But all in all, again, the story was interesting to me. Penelope Douglas too, she does a really great job with the spice, I will say, because there are people, and I saw that in the review, talking about the couch scene. And if you read the book, you know what couch scene it is. And I get it. I do get it. This is definitely not going to be the last book that I read by Penelope. If you haven't read it, again, I do think that you should, if you want to, definitely look up triggers, because there were things that happened in the book that I didn't know about. Penelope Douglas has the triggers on the website. You can see them, I'm pretty sure, like before you start reading the book, I think on like descriptions and stuff. So definitely check out triggers. And again, just a friendly reminder, you don't have to be mean to people whose opinion is not 100% like yours. If it doesn't affect your life, if it doesn't hurt anyone, mind your business respectfully. But anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.